At my mom's birthday, my nephew said, "Grandma says you're only invited because you pay for stuff." Then he tossed cake at my dress. Everyone laughed. That night, I stopped the $1,200 payment that covered their rent for good. Coming to my mom's birthday party was the worst decision I've made in years, and that's saying something, because I've made some truly bad ones when it comes to my family. Like co-signing a car loan for my stepdad that he stopped paying 6 months in, or covering my sister's rent when she couldn't deal with her ex anymore and needed to move out on a week's notice. But this one topped everything. It started 2 weeks earlier when my mom called me while I was at work. She didn't ask how I was. She never does. She launched right into birthday plans, said she wanted to do something simple and sweet at home. Her kind of simple meant I'd be covering the cost of the cake, catering, drinks, decorations, and yes, her rent. I said I'd think about it. She said, "Oh, good. I already told everyone you'd be handling it." That was the end of the conversation. I should have said no. I really, really should have. But when you grow up being the reliable one, the successful one, the one who doesn't scream or cry or fall apart, you get used to quietly swallowing things down and wiring money on autopilot. So I did it. I bought the cake she wanted, custom red velvet with cream cheese icing, her favorite. I ordered catering from the overpriced barbecue place she liked, paid for drinks, even booked a party rental for the folding chairs she insisted she didn't need until she called me 2 days before to say, actually, yes, she needed them. Then she hit me with the rent. $12,200. Just this month, sweetheart. I've had a rough patch. It was always just this month, except it never was. The day of the party, I put on a simple navy dress and pulled my hair up, hoping I could at least look put together, even if I felt like a walking doormat. The whole drive over, my chest was tight. It wasn't anxiety, it was resentment, the kind that builds up so gradually you don't notice it until you're completely full of it. As soon as I pulled into the driveway, I knew I'd made a mistake. There were already way too many cars half parked on the lawn. The music was loud. The backyard looked like someone had thrown a kids' party in a junkyard, and my mom's voice was carrying across the yard, laughing loud enough for the neighbors to hear. I stepped out and saw Tara before she saw me. She was wearing a flowy white romper and platform sandals, standing near the cooler like she'd never heard the word budget. Her daughter Ellie was with her, looking bored and irritated at the same time, which was kind of her default expression these days. No one greeted me, not really. A few nods, a half-hearted "hey" from one of my cousins. I walked past a group of lawn chairs where my stepdad was already on his second or third beer, talking loudly about politics to a 15-year-old. I finally found my mom near the grill opening presents. She smiled big when she saw me, but not because I was there, because she spotted the gift bag in my hand. Inside was the tablet she'd been dropping not-so-subtle hints about for months. She opened it right there, acted surprised, then went off to show her friends how smart it was, like it was something she found at a yard sale instead of something I spent hours researching and paid full price for. I sat down at a table under one of those sun-faded umbrellas, mostly to catch my breath. I'd been there 15 minutes, hadn't gotten a thank you, and no one asked me how I was doing. Just as I started to consider sneaking out early, Ellie marched up with a giant slice of cake, red frosting, thick layers, way too big for her tiny paper plate. She looked right at me and said, "Grandma says you're only invited because you pay for stuff." Then she threw the cake. It hit me square in the chest. Red frosting smeared across the front of my dress, into the fabric. For a second, I just stood there stunned. Then I heard it. Laughter. First hers, then someone else's, then more. I turned and saw my mom actually laughing. She waved a hand like it was cute. Tara didn't say a word. She didn't scold Ellie, didn't even look in my direction. My stepdad lifted his beer like it was some kind of toast. I just walked inside. The bathroom was tiny and smelled like old candles and mildew, but it was the only place I could be alone. I used a lot of paper towels and cold water to clean off the worst of the frosting. It didn't matter. The dress was ruined. I sat down on the edge of the tub, hands in my lap, and just breathed. I wasn't going to cry. I was done crying over them. But something inside me shifted, like a switch flipped. When I got home that night, I didn't call anyone. I didn't send a passive-aggressive text. I didn't try to make them feel bad. I just opened my banking app, went into my recent transfers, and canceled the $12,200 payment. I stared at the screen for a moment. Then I clicked block on my mom's number. The next morning, she called me 4 times. I didn't answer. Later that week, the landlord called her, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. The first sign that things were about to spiral came just hours after I canceled the rent transfer. My mom texted me early in the morning like nothing happened. "Morning, sweetheart. Can you double check the rent payment? I think something glitched." She always did that. Played dumb like it was some innocent mix-up. Not her fault. Never her fault. By lunchtime, she dropped the act. "Why didn't the rent go through? This isn't funny. I already told the landlord." Then the guilt trip started. "You know I've been struggling. I raised you. I gave you everything. I needed you just this one time." One time. That line made me laugh out loud. I could have printed my bank statements and highlighted every one time over the last 6 years. Each time she swore it was the last. Each time I gave in. I didn't respond. Not because I was trying to be dramatic, but because I was tired. That deep, soul-level tired you get when you finally realize someone isn't confused or in crisis. They just don't care. They expect, they take, and they punish you when you stop handing things over. The texts kept coming. "I can't believe you'd do this to me after everything I've done for you. You let your niece humiliate you, and now you're taking it out on me." She still hadn't apologized for the cake. Still hadn't addressed the fact that she stood there and laughed when her granddaughter humiliated me in front of 24 people. 2 days later, Tara texted. Not even a full sentence. Just, "So you're not doing the rent this month?" That was it. Not a single mention of what happened. No, "Hey, I'm sorry about Ellie." Just a cold, flat message like I was an employer who'd forgotten to run payroll. I didn't answer. I left it sitting in my inbox unread, even though I definitely read it. On day 4, I got a phone call from an unknown number. I don't usually pick those up, but I was waiting for a call back from my vet, so I answered. It was my stepdad. He started casual, like we were pals catching up. Asked how I was, talked about the weather. Then, without missing a beat, he slid right into it. "Your mom's really torn up, Trudy. You've got her stressed to the point of getting sick." I said nothing. "You need to do right by her. She's your mother. She gave you life." That line, that stupid, heavy, manipulative line, the same one my mom always used, when she wanted me to ignore my boundaries, as if giving birth to me in a hospital nearly 35 years ago meant she had a permanent pass to emotionally bankrupt me. He kept going, said my mom hadn't been eating, that she was crying, that she was humiliated because she had to ask the landlord for an extension. Like that was somehow my fault. She didn't deserve this, he said. And that's when I laughed. Not out loud, but inside. It was the kind of laugh you get when something finally clicks. Like when you realize the game's been rigged from the start, and you've been playing fair for nothing. I hung up. No goodbye, no explanation. Just ended the call and blocked his number without blinking. 2 hours later, my mom showed up at my apartment. I live in a secured building, so she must have followed someone in or waited by the front door until someone opened it. I saw her through the peephole, in a floral shawl, her sickly face on, like she was some Victorian widow. She knocked for 15 minutes, alternating between polite knocks and loud pounding. At one point, she called out my name. I didn't open the door. I didn't even move. I stood there in complete silence, listening to her demand entry into a life she'd never respected. She finally left. I thought maybe, finally, it would stop. But then she took it public. A friend texted me a screenshot from a local Facebook group. My mom had posted a sob story, something about being abandoned by a family member she trusted and facing eviction because of a betrayal. She didn't name me directly, but she didn't have to. Anyone who knew us knew who she was talking about. In the comments, people offered sympathy. One woman even said she was going to pray for her. Another asked, "Is this the daughter who works in tech?" And that was when I realized how far she was willing to go. She didn't care that she was airing our private mess to strangers. She didn't care about burning bridges. She just wanted to win. I didn't reply to the post. I didn't call her out or post receipts. I just watched it all unfold, quietly deleting anyone who shared it with me. Let her build her fantasy. But the silence didn't last. About a week after the party, my phone rang. It was Tara. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. She didn't sound angry. She sounded tired. She said Ellie had been asking where I was, why I hadn't come over, why I didn't call anymore. Then she said the one thing I didn't expect. Mom told her you don't love us anymore. That hit harder than I wanted it to. She kept talking, said things had been bad at home, that our mom was unbearable, that our stepdad was worse. that she couldn't take it anymore. "I need to get out," she said. "I'm trying. I really am, but I don't have the money." I said nothing for a long time. Then she added, "I told Ellie what happened at the party. I told her it was wrong. I should have stopped her. I should have defended you. That wasn't okay." And for the first time in years, I heard it in her voice. Not defensiveness, not deflection, guilt. Then she asked the question I knew was coming. "Can you help me? Just for a little while, until I can figure things out." I don't know why I said yes. Maybe because I remembered what it felt like to live under that roof. Maybe because I believed her, or wanted to. I paid her deposit for a small apartment, covered groceries, and told her I'd help for 1 month. That was it. 1 month. She promised to explain everything to Ellie. Said things would be different now. That she finally saw Mom for what she really was. And for a moment, I let myself believe it. I didn't know it yet, but it was all about to fall apart again. For a few weeks, things were calm. Suspiciously calm. Tara moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment on the east side. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers. When I helped her carry boxes in, she looked lighter, like she could finally breathe. Ellie seemed quieter than usual, shy around me, but polite. I didn't push it. I figured it would take time for her to warm up again after what happened at the party. Tara called every few days to give me updates, mostly small things like how she'd found a cheaper grocery store or that Ellie had started drawing again. She kept thanking me over and over until I told her to stop. I wasn't doing it for credit. I just wanted her to break the cycle, to have a chance at a normal life without Mom's drama poisoning every conversation. For the first time in years, I felt a little hope about my family. Then, about 3 weeks in, my mom found out. I don't know how. Maybe Tara slipped up, or maybe Mom saw something on social media, but she called me out of nowhere, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "I'm just so proud of you for helping your sister," she said. "You've always been such a giving soul." I said, "How did you find out about that?" She laughed and changed the subject, said she was thinking of visiting Tara's new place to check in on the girls. That sentence made my stomach turn. The last thing Tara needed was Mom marching in and pretending to be Mother of the Year. I told her not to. She pretended not to hear me. A few days later, Tara called, and I could tell something was wrong from the second she spoke. "She came," she said. "She just showed up, walked right in like she owned the place, started going through my fridge, asking who paid for what. Ellie was right there. It was humiliating." Apparently, Mom had gone on a full-blown guilt trip, telling Ellie that I owed her grandmother. That the only reason Tara had that apartment was because I finally decided to do the right thing. Then she accused Tara of turning me against her. Tara told me she kicked her out after 20 minutes. I didn't know whether to be proud or furious. A few days after that, I noticed a $2,000 charge on my credit card from a store in Mom's neighborhood. It was her. At first, I thought it was fraud. Then I saw the name on the transaction. Rita's Appliances. My mom's name was Rita. She'd used my card. I called her immediately. She didn't answer. When she finally texted back, all she wrote was, "Thank you, honey. You're such a blessing. I'll pay you back next month. Love you." I stared at the message for a full minute before it hit me. She wasn't even pretending anymore. She was bragging. I called again. This time she picked up. She sounded relaxed, like she knew exactly what she'd done. I said, "Did you use my card?" She laughed softly and said, "Oh, stop being dramatic. I thought it was your way of helping. Tara said you're doing well. You won't even miss it." And something in me snapped. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I just drove straight to her house. I didn't even put shoes on. Just grabbed my keys and went. She was sitting in her living room, TV blaring, a new microwave and coffee maker still in boxes beside her. When she saw me, she actually smiled. "Oh, Trudy, don't overreact." I walked right up to her and said, "You stole from me." She said, "You always overstate things. I raised you. I have a right to ask for help." "Help is when I offer," I said, "not when you take." Then I saw it, the receipt on the counter. She'd bought a flat-screen TV, too. That was it. The anger I'd been bearing for years just surfaced, clean and hot. I don't remember what words came out next. I just remember the sound of my voice louder than I'd ever heard it. I remember her eyes widening, her face tightening, the sudden flicker of fear when she realized I wasn't backing down this time. I told her she was done. No more money, no more phone calls, no more guilt trips. She could beg someone else. She called me ungrateful, told me I was cursed to end up alone. I didn't answer. I just turned, walked to the door, and left her sitting there, surrounded by her shiny new things. Every one of them bought with my money. When I got home, I texted Tara. "Mom used my card. I'm cutting her off for good." Tara replied instantly. "She did what? Then I'll handle it." I didn't know what that meant yet, but whatever was about to happen, I knew it wasn't going to be quiet. The second I saw the charge on my phone, I knew what she'd done. It was only $1,142 this time, from a gas station near her place, but it didn't matter. The amount was irrelevant. It was the fact that she did it again. Used a card she had no business touching. I'd already removed it from every shared account, locked it down, filed a fraud report on the $2,000 transaction the week before. Somehow she'd gotten it again. I still don't know how. Maybe she had it written down somewhere, or maybe she guessed the new numbers. But the fact she even tried, that's when I realized she didn't just take, she planned to take. This wasn't desperation, this was entitlement. I reported the charge, canceled the card for good, and had the bank issue a new one. This time under a different account entirely. Then I called Tara. She didn't even sound surprised. She's been walking around telling people you're helping her again, that you forgave her. She said you left her your card for emergencies. I was so furious I couldn't speak. It was beyond manipulation now. It was fraud, and she wasn't even hiding it. That night, I drove to her house again. Not to talk, not to ask, not to reason. I just wanted it to end. When I got there, the porch light was on, and the boxes from her little shopping spree were still piled up in the living room. She was at the kitchen table, scrolling on her phone with a Diet Coke in front of her, like everything was perfectly normal. When she looked up, she smiled. "Oh, Trudy, before you say anything," I didn't let her finish. I walked straight to her, pulled the phone out of her hand, and opened her texts. Right there, in plain sight, were screenshots she'd sent to one of our aunts. She was bragging about how she'd gotten back in and that I'd learned my lesson. One of the messages literally said, "You always have to let them throw their tantrum. Then wait, they come crawling back." She saw me reading it. She reached for the phone. I stepped back. Then she said something so smug, so shockingly bold, it didn't feel real. "I thought you'd be proud. You always wanted me to learn to handle things myself." Something inside me snapped, not in a dramatic way, just clean, quiet, final. I walked over to her, grabbed the armrest of the chair she was sitting in, and yanked it just hard enough for her to stumble. She stood up, furious, started yelling that I was insane, ungrateful, abusive. I grabbed her by the hair, not hard, just enough to get her attention, enough to let her know I wasn't playing anymore. She screamed, pulled back, shoved me, and I shoved her right back. She hit the counter and dropped her phone. It was the first time in my life I'd laid a hand on her, and I'm not proud of it, but I'm not sorry either. She stood there frozen, one hand on the counter, the other in her hair, like she couldn't believe I'd actually touched her. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just said, "You're done. Out of my life, out of my accounts, out of my future." Then, calmly, I told her what I'd already done. I'd spoken to her landlord. I told him I wouldn't be paying anymore, that she was using my name. He'd been understanding. Apparently, I wasn't the first relative she'd thrown under the bus. She had 10 days to leave. She didn't say anything, not a single word. Just stared at me like I'd flipped the script and she didn't know her next line. I walked out and left the door open behind me. The next few days were quiet, almost too quiet. Then one morning, someone buzzed my apartment. When I opened the door, I saw Tara holding an envelope and a duffel bag. Behind her was Ellie, and behind her was my mom. She stood there on the sidewalk with a suitcase, wearing sunglasses, no makeup, and that same damn floral shawl she always used when she wanted to look frail. I looked at Tara. She handed me the envelope. "She sold the TV, the microwave, the stupid blender she bought with your card. This is what's left." It was cash, crumpled bills. I counted it later. $478. Not even close to what she owed me, but honestly, it was more than I ever expected to see. Then Tara said something that caught me off guard. I told her to say goodbye. I blinked. Tara turned to her, arms crossed. "Go ahead." My mom stepped forward a little. "I'm going to Ohio," she said, "to stay with Aunt Cheryl." I said nothing. She added, "I guess I pushed too hard." Still nothing. I just looked at Ellie. She was holding a plastic folder with school papers. She didn't say anything, but when I looked closer, I saw something on the front, a drawing. Me, her, and Tara, all smiling. No grandma in sight. Then, completely unprompted, Ellie walked up to me and hugged me around the waist. "I'm sorry about the cake," she said. "I didn't know. I just thought it would make Grandma laugh." I knelt down and told her I forgave her, that none of it was her fault. She nodded. "Mom told me everything," she said. "She said we don't have to laugh when someone gets hurt just because someone else tells us to." And just like that, something clicked. Maybe this whole time I thought I was losing a family, but the truth was I was finally getting a real one. A smaller one, but honest. I watched as Tara and Ellie walked my mom to her rideshare. She didn't look back, not once. And for the first time in my entire life, I didn't care if she ever did. About 2 weeks after my mother left for Ohio, I got a voicemail. No warning, no missed calls beforehand. Just one quiet, clipped message waiting in my inbox. It was her voice. No fake sweetness this time. No dramatics, no pity-seeking coughs. I'm in Ohio. Cheryl's place is small. She's not like you. She makes me wash my own clothes. I've been sleeping on the pullout. Just wanted you to know I'm okay. That's all. She sounded like someone who just learned what consequences feel like. I didn't call back. I forwarded the voicemail to Tara and deleted it without even saving the audio. And then, for the first time in maybe my entire adult life, everything went quiet. No surprise charges on my card. No guilt trip texts. No cryptic status updates about betrayal or abandonment. It was eerie, like the calm after a hurricane, the kind of silence that makes you think maybe the storm is circling back. Except this time it didn't. Tara had gotten the hang of her job. Part-time admin work at a dental office. Not glamorous, but consistent. It was 5 blocks from Ellie's school, and she walked to work most mornings with a coffee she made herself. Not Starbucks, not something she begged me to Venmo her for. Real, earned coffee. That alone made me weirdly emotional. She texted me on a Thursday night. Got my first full paycheck. Paid rent without asking for help. Feels weird. Good weird. I replied, proud of you, really. She texted back a single crying emoji, then said she also used part of it to buy Ellie real notebooks, not the dollar store ones. Ellie was so excited. That hit me hard. I remembered the notebooks we used to have growing up. Covers already peeling by October, pages thin enough to see through. A few days later, Tara invited me over for dinner. Ellie made spaghetti and insisted on setting the table by herself. She even folded the napkins into weird triangle shapes like she'd seen at some restaurant. Halfway through dinner, Ellie got up, went to her backpack, and handed me a paper. It was a school drawing. 3 people holding hands with little hearts drawn above each one. Me, Tara, and Ellie. I smiled and said it was beautiful. She said, "That's us now. I told my teacher we're a triangle family because triangles are strong." Tara teared up at that, quietly. She didn't say anything for a while. Then she did. "You know what Mom used to say to me when I cried?" she asked. "She used to say, 'Tears don't fix rent.'" I nodded. I'd heard it too, probably more times than she had. "She was wrong," Tara said. "Tears don't fix rent, but they fix people sometimes. I had to cry a lot before I realized how broken I was." She paused, fiddled with her fork. I used to think if I made her proud, she'd love me. That maybe I just wasn't doing enough. That maybe you were her favorite and I had to be louder, funnier, needier, whatever it took. The silence that followed was heavy, but necessary. Then she looked at me. "I'm sorry I ever made you feel like the enemy. You weren't. You were just the only one strong enough to tell her no." I didn't cry, but I felt something in my throat that stayed stuck there for the rest of the night. Then came the shock. 3 days later, my mom came back unannounced. No call, no warning. Just showed up outside my apartment, standing next to a rolling suitcase and holding a grocery bag filled with what looked like pills, receipts, and half-eaten snacks. I only saw her because she rang every single apartment until someone buzzed her in. When I opened the door, she didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just said, "Cheryl's kicking me out. Said I'm too much work. Said I drain people." She tried to step inside. I blocked the doorway with my body. "I'm not here to beg," she said. "I just want to talk. Just let me say something." I said nothing. "I thought you'd be proud of me for trying. But no matter what I do, you all just look at me like I'm a monster." Still nothing. Then she dropped the line she thought would break me. The same one she used when I was a teenager and she wanted to keep me under control. "You wouldn't have anything if it weren't for me. You wouldn't even exist." That was it, the final spark. I stepped out, shut the door behind me, and walked her back down the hall, suitcase dragging, her muttering all the way. At the building entrance, I handed her the envelope she left behind last time. I'd never opened it. Inside, it had the 470 A's she supposedly repaid me. She stared at it, then looked at me like I was dirt. After everything I did, "You used me," I said. "Not just for money. You used my guilt, my kindness, my silence. And now you get nothing. Not my time, not my door, not my pity." She didn't say anything after that. Just stood there while the automatic door slowly shut between us. It was surreal, like watching a movie where the villain doesn't die, but just becomes irrelevant. I went back upstairs, locked the door, and let out a breath that had been stuck in my lungs for 20 years. Later that night, I got a photo from Tara. It was Ellie holding a handmade card she'd colored with markers. Thank you for helping my mom be a real mom. Below it, a drawing of me and Tara sitting on a couch holding mugs, Ellie on the floor in front of us with a book. No grandma, no chaos. Just peace. It's been 5 months since my mother stood outside my apartment with a suitcase and a bag of junk, looking for a way back in. And 5 months since I decided that the answer was no. For good. People say that when you go no contact with a parent, it feels like grief. They're right in a way. But for me, it didn't feel like losing her. It felt like I stopped losing myself. Piece by piece over the years, she chipped away at who I was, what I wanted, what I thought I deserved. Cutting her off wasn't grief, it was recovery. The surprise wasn't how free I felt. It was how quickly peace settled in. No more alerts from my bank, no more sudden demands, no more guilt pretending to be love. The only texts I got from family were from Tara, and those had shifted too. Not the kind that started with a request or a problem. Now she sent me pictures of Ellie's school projects or links to awful reality shows she knew I'd mock with her. One night, she even sent a blurry video of Ellie dancing in her pajamas to 80s music, screaming lyrics she clearly didn't understand. The change was subtle, but it was real. It was in the way Tara talked now, less defensive, more sure of herself. She didn't ask for permission to be proud of small things. She just was. The job at the dental office, she was still there. Her manager was training her to take on more hours. She'd started using words like schedule, stability, and savings account. And I think she meant them. Ellie adjusted too, faster than we expected. One Saturday morning, she called me. Not Tara, Ellie. She asked if I wanted to go to the park with them. When I got there, she ran up and handed me a little plastic bracelet she made, bright pink with beads spelling out my name, Trudy, except she added a heartbeat at the end. I asked what the heart was for. She said, because you're kind of my other mom now, not a step one, a bonus one, like dessert. That did something to me. Not tears, but a shift, like my chest made room for something I didn't know it had space for. That night, we had dinner at Tara's place. Nothing fancy, just baked chicken and frozen peas and some boxed mac and cheese Ellie begged for. We laughed about how gross it was, then finished the whole thing anyway. After Ellie went to bed, Tara and I stayed up sitting on the living room floor with mugs of tea, the TV still playing in the background. Out of nowhere, she said, I haven't heard from her since she left town. I didn't have to ask who she meant. She's been calling Aunt Cheryl, Tara added, leaving voicemails. Cheryl won't answer. I think Mom figured out there's no one left. That part surprised me a little. Not that she was alone, but that she knew she would. I always thought she'd just move on to the next person, but maybe she'd finally hit the end of the list. Tara kept talking. You think she even gets it now? That she finally sees what she did? I thought about it, then shook my head. She probably just thinks she pushed the wrong buttons, not that the buttons were never hers to push. Tara nodded quietly, then said, I think part of me still wanted her to call and say sorry, just once. But even that, I don't need it like I used to. That was the real moment. Not a dramatic fight or a breakdown or a line in the sand. Just two grown women sitting in a small apartment, realizing they no longer owed anyone the weight of being daughters to someone who never acted like a mother. A week later, Ellie's school had a family night. Crafts, music, snacks, the usual chaotic mix. They encouraged kids to bring anyone they considered family. When we walked in together, Ellie introduced me to her teacher as my mom's sister and my bonus grown-up. We made construction paper bookmarks at a sticky table, spilled juice on our shoes, and watched a performance of You Are My Sunshine so painfully off-key it was somehow perfect. Afterward, Tara handed me a folded-up piece of notebook paper. Ellie made you something. Inside was a drawing. Not crayon this time, pencil and colored pens. The three of us were in it again, only now we weren't stick figures. There was more detail. Tara had glasses, I had curly hair, Ellie was holding both our hands. Above us, in shaky cursive, it said, We are our own kind of family. I taped it to the inside of my kitchen cabinet. It's still there now. I see it every morning when I reach for my coffee mug. And every morning, it reminds me, you don't always get the family you're born with. Sometimes you build one, piece by painful piece. And it's better than anything you lost. It's quieter, stronger, real.